On Thanksgiving, my nephews piled their plates with turkey, while my son watched with an empty stomach because I wouldn't help my sister with her mortgage. So I took his hand and walked out. That night, I shut down every shared account and demanded they pay back every penny. Hey Reddit, my sister demanded I help with her mortgage because things had been tight for her. I refused and told her she still hadn't paid back the money she owes me. She didn't like that and decided to belittle my son in front of everyone to punish me. That didn't go well for her. Grab your popcorn and let me give you some background first, because it's important. Name's Scott, 34 male. I'm a senior accountant at a regional firm that pays decent money. Not rich guy money, but enough to cover my bases, and then some. Except my bases kept expanding to include everyone else's problems. My son Lucas is the only good thing that came out of my disaster of a marriage. His mom got hooked on pills after a car accident. Then I caught her in our bed with my best friend Dylan 3 years ago. I put Dylan through the bedroom wall, broke my hand doing it, and got full custody after an 8-month divorce. She's got supervised visitation she barely uses. Lucas stopped asking about her around his 5th birthday. Single dad, decent job, one kid who deserved better than ramen 3 nights running because Aunt Amanda couldn't manage her finances. Amanda's my younger sister. Got married at 22 to some guy named Isaac who worked in sales, which apparently means unemployed with business cards in their house. They popped out 2 kids before figuring out kids cost money. Shocking revelation, really. Now Amanda called me every time their mortgage came due, their car needed repairs, their kids needed school supplies, and I'd been saying yes for 6 years straight, until I didn't. My parents, Lawrence and Barbara, had their own opinions about what family does, specifically, what I should do for family. They lived 20 minutes away in the house I'd helped them keep twice when the property taxes came due. The house where the new roof came courtesy of my credit card last spring. The house with the furnace I'd replaced 2 winters ago for $5,000. They loved reminding me how lucky I was to have family support after my divorce. Funny how that support looked like me writing checks while they complained I didn't visit enough. I'd been tracking this for 6 years, and I was over pretending it was normal. 3 weeks before Thanksgiving, Amanda called asking for $5,000. Isaac's got a business opportunity, she said, doing that fake sweet voice thing. Just needs a little capital to get started. We'll pay you back by Christmas. I was sitting at my desk reviewing expense reports when she called. I pulled up a spreadsheet I'd been building. Every loan I'd given her over the past 6 years. Every temporary payment I'd covered. Amanda, you still owe me $17,000 from the last 4 loans. When's that getting paid back? Silence on the line. Then her voice went cold. I can't believe you're keeping score, Scott. We're family. Family that owes me $17,000 and wants 5 more. Math doesn't care about genetics. You know what? Forget it. I'll figure it out myself. She hung up. I stared at my phone for a solid minute. That was new. Usually she'd argue. Guilt trip. Bring up mom and dad. Lucas came home from school that afternoon with a drawing he'd made. Stick figures labeled me and dad. I stuck it on the fridge with a magnet and decided we were getting pizza for dinner. My phone buzzed while we were eating. Mom's name on the screen. I let it go to voicemail. She called back twice. I ignored both. Lucas looked up at me. Grandma calling? Yep. You gonna answer? Nope. He went back to his pizza. Good with that answer. I checked the voicemail later that night after Lucas went to bed. Mom's voice came through sharp and annoyed. Scott, your sister told me you refused to help her. We need to talk about your attitude. You're coming to Thanksgiving, and we're going to discuss this as a family. Not how are you, not how's Lucas, just straight to demanding I show up for a lecture about my attitude. I ignored the voicemail and grabbed a drink, sat on the couch and pulled up that spreadsheet again. $17,000 to Amanda over 6 years. Various amounts ranging from $500 to $3,000. Not $1 paid back. $11,000 to my parents over the same period. Roof, furnace, property taxes twice, car repairs, emergency dental work for dad. I opened my banking app and looked at my checking account. Comfortable balance. Emergency fund sitting at $12,000. Not bad for a single dad. Then I noticed something weird. A recurring transfer I didn't recognize. $400 pulled on the 20th of every month. Recipient listed as household fund. I never set up any household fund. I scrolled back through 6 months of statements. Same transfer, same date, same amount, $400 a month for half a year. My hands started shaking. I grabbed my laptop and logged into my bank's website, navigating to account settings. Under authorized users, 2 names appeared, Lawrence and Barbara, my parents. I'd given them account access 8 years ago when I was in the hospital for an emergency appendectomy. They'd offered to handle my bills while I recovered. I'd trusted them. I'd never removed their access, and they'd been using it to rob me blind. I sat there staring at the screen, doing math in my head. 400 a month for 6 months was 2,400. But when did it start? I scrolled back further. 8 months. 12 months. 16 months. They'd been pulling money for 16 months. 400 times 16 is $6,400. The room got real hot suddenly. I set the laptop down. Every time Amanda had called crying about her mortgage. Every time my parents had mentioned struggling with bills. Every vacation they couldn't afford. Every emergency that required my immediate help. They'd been supplementing their income with my stolen money the entire time. Combined with the $28,000 I'd willingly given to my family over 6 years, I'd contributed over $34,000 to keeping these people afloat. And last week, my son ate ramen 3 nights in a row because I was too busy funding my sister's mortgage to buy decent groceries. I was furious. Like, seeing red furious. I closed the laptop. Tomorrow was Wednesday. Thanksgiving was Thursday. I had 24 hours to decide if I was walking into that house knowing what I knew, or I could burn it all down. The text from Mom came at 7 in the morning. Turkey's at 2. Don't be late. No happy Thanksgiving. No looking forward to seeing you. Just an order. I got Lucas dressed in his good jeans and the button-up shirt. Told him we'd eat, maybe play with his cousins for a bit, then head home for our own tradition, couch, movies, and the chocolate pie I'd bought yesterday. He seemed okay with that plan. The drive took 30 minutes through light traffic. My parents' house looked the same as always. 2-story colonial with the new roof I'd paid for. The repaved driveway Dad had convinced me was essential for resale value, even though they weren't selling. Amanda's SUV sat in the driveway, looking freshly washed. I parked on the street and helped Lucas out. He grabbed the bottle of sparkling cider I'd brought. Dad answered the door. Gave me a nod, gave Lucas a pat on the head. Food's almost ready. Your mother's in the kitchen. The house smelled like turkey. Amanda sat on the couch with her husband Isaac, both of them looking at their phones. Amanda looked up when I walked in. Her smile was pure acid. Didn't think you'd show. Wouldn't miss it, I said, matching her tone. Lucas, why don't you go play with your cousins? Mom appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel. Lucas looked at me. I nodded. He headed to the den. Scott, help your father set the table, Mom demanded, already turning back to the kitchen. I followed Dad to the dining room. He handed me plates and silverware without speaking. We set the table in silence. The table could seat 8. Me, Lucas, Mom, Dad, Amanda, Isaac, and their 2 kids Mason and Piper. 8 people. But looking at the spread, something was off. The turkey sat in the middle, golden brown and normal-sized. Mashed potatoes, stuffing, green beans, rolls. Standard Thanksgiving fare. But there was something else. A second, smaller bird at the other end of the table. Looked like a Cornish game hen. Next to it sat a small bowl of plain white rice and some steamed vegetables. What's that? I asked Dad. He shrugged. Ask your mother. Mom came out of the kitchen carrying gravy. Everyone sit down. Let's eat before it gets cold. We sat. Lucas ended up between me and Amanda. I noticed immediately that the place settings weren't equal. 7 plates had full portions of turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes. 2 plates, mine and Lucas's, were positioned near the game hen. Mom sat down and smiled at everyone except me. I'm so glad we could all be together. Amanda, Isaac, I'm so proud of how you're managing everything. Your children are wonderful. Amanda looked smug. Isaac nodded. Dad's feeling better after that dental work, Mom continued. So grateful we could get that taken care of. The dental work I'd paid for. But sure, no acknowledgement there. Let's say grace, Dad said. We bowed our heads. Dad thanked God. Everyone started serving themselves. Except I noticed Mom physically moving the turkey away from my end of the table. Mom, can you pass the turkey? She smiled. Actually, Scott, you and Lucas are having the game hen. I thought it would be special. You know, something different. I stared at her. You're serving us a different meal than everyone else? It's Cornish hen. Some people pay extra for it at restaurants. Some people also have portion sizes larger than my fist. I looked at the tiny bird. Maybe 2 pounds. For me and Lucas. Amanda cut in. Fake concern dripping from her voice. Mom thought since you're always watching your budget, you might appreciate something smaller. You know, economical. The room went quiet. Even Isaac looked uncomfortable. Economical, I repeated. Well, you did say you couldn't help with my mortgage this month. I just assumed money was tight. Amanda's smile could cut glass. Lucas tugged my sleeve. Dad, I'm hungry. I looked at my son, then at the massive turkey everyone else was carving into. It's fine, bud. We'll eat. I pulled the game hen onto our plates, splitting it as evenly as I could. Lucas got most of the meat. I got bones and a wing. Amanda passed me the rice. Here, this should fill you up. I took the rice. Said nothing. Started eating while my family laughed and talked and enjoyed their actual Thanksgiving meal. Lucas ate quietly, glancing between me and his full plate that wasn't full at all. He was a smart kid. He knew something was wrong. Halfway through the meal, Dad started talking about their upcoming vacation. Arizona, apparently. 2 weeks in January. Staying at some resort with a golf course. Sounds expensive, I said carefully. We've been saving, Mom said quickly. We deserve a vacation. We've worked hard. Worked hard spending my money, apparently. That's great, I said. When I was saving for Lucas's new bike, it took me 3 months of budgeting. Guess you're better at it than me. The passive-aggressive comment landed. Mom's smile got tighter. Dad's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. But Amanda saw an opening. Maybe if you managed your money better, you'd have more to spare. I looked at her. Waited. She kept going, getting bolder. Not everyone can be as irresponsible as you were with Jade. The room froze. Lucas's fork stopped moving. He was staring at his plate, shoulders tense. I set down my fork real careful. You want to elaborate on that, Amanda? I'm just saying, she continued, that condescending edge in her voice. Relationships take work. Communication. Maybe if you'd been more attentive, more present, she wouldn't have needed to look elsewhere. Mom made a noise. Amanda, what? I'm being honest. Everyone's thinking it. Scott acts like he's the victim. But maybe there's a reason Jade checked out. Maybe there's a reason she found someone else. I felt sick to my stomach. Amanda, stop, Isaac said quietly. But she didn't stop. You walk around acting superior because you have a steady job and savings. But what good did that do your marriage? You couldn't keep your wife faithful. You couldn't keep your family together. And now you're punishing the rest of us because we need help, and you're too selfish to provide it. She leaned back, looking satisfied, then delivered the final blow. No wonder your wife cheated on you. You're just not enough. The words hung there. Lucas's hand found mine under the table. His palm was sweaty, scared. I looked at Amanda, then at my parents who sat there quiet, not correcting her, not defending me. Then I looked at Lucas, who just heard his aunt blame his dad for his mom's addiction and betrayal. I stood up. Lucas, get your coat. Scott, sit down, Dad said. She didn't mean, get your coat, I repeated, looking at my son. Lucas scrambled out of his chair and ran to get his jacket from the hallway. You're overreacting, Mom said. Amanda was just expressing concern. I turned to Amanda. You've owed me $17,000 for 6 years. I want it back. Her face went white. What? $17,000. Every loan you've taken and never repaid. I want it back in full within 30 days, or I'm taking you to court. Isaac shifted in his seat. Scott, come on. And you? I looked at my parents. You've been stealing from my account for 16 months. $6,400 in unauthorized transfers. Mom's hand flew to her chest. Scott, that's not... You were stealing. You've been using account access I gave you 8 years ago to pull money without permission. That's theft. Dad stood up, face red. You're being ridiculous. That money was for household expenses. Your household expenses aren't my responsibility. Your mortgage isn't my responsibility. Your vacation isn't my responsibility. None of this is my responsibility. And I'm done pretending it is. Lucas appeared with his coat on, eyes wide. Let's go, buddy. Scott, you walk out that door, don't bother coming back, Mom said, voice shaking. I stopped at the door, looked back at all of them. Wasn't planning on it. We walked out into the cold November air. Lucas climbed into the car without a word. I started the engine, pulled out of the driveway, and drove away from that house for what I decided right then would be the last time. 3 blocks away, Lucas spoke up from the back seat. Dad? Yeah, buddy. Can we get burgers? I laughed. Yeah, we can get burgers. The good ones with the curly fries. And milkshakes? And milkshakes. We hit the diner on 5th Street, the one with the neon sign and the jukebox that still worked. Ordered 2 bacon cheeseburgers, extra curly fries, and chocolate shakes. Lucas tore into his food like he'd been starved. Ketchup on his chin, grease on his fingers. Dad? He said between bites. Yeah? Are we not going back there anymore? I set down my burger. Looked at my kid. Probably not, buddy. He thought about that for a moment, chewing slowly. Then, okay. You're okay with that? He nodded. They were mean to you, and the food sucked. I smiled. Kid had his priorities straight. Aunt Amanda said mean things, he continued, voice getting quieter. About Mom. Yeah, she did. Was it true? I took a breath. What happened with your mom wasn't anyone's fault but hers. But Aunt Amanda was trying to hurt me because I said no to giving her more money. Sometimes people say mean things when they don't get what they want. He thought about that. Are we poor now? What? No. Why would you think that? They said you don't have money. I have plenty of money. I just stopped giving it to them. His face lit up. So we can still get pizza sometimes? Yeah, buddy, we can still get pizza. Good. He went back to his burger, crisis apparently over. While he ate, I pulled out my phone and started drafting an email. Subject line, cease and desist. Time to lawyer up. Friday morning, I woke up to my phone losing its mind. 15 missed calls, 29 texts, 6 voicemails. I made coffee and ignored all of it. Lucas wanted pancakes, so I made pancakes from scratch with chocolate chips and bananas. We ate breakfast while watching TV, and I didn't check my phone once. Around 10, there was pounding on my apartment door. 3 heavy bangs that made Lucas jump on the couch. I looked through the peephole. Dad's face, red and mad. I opened the door but stood in the doorway, blocking entry. What? We need to talk. Now. We really don't. Scott, what you said yesterday. He lowered his voice, glancing at Lucas, who was watching from the couch. Those accusations are serious. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. Turned the screen toward him. Household fund. $400, 20th of every month, 16 months. Explain it. His jaw clenched. That was for emergencies. Show me the emergencies. Silence. Mom appeared behind him. Scott, please. We just needed help. You make good money. I've been helping for 6 years. 30 grand worth. And you thanked me by serving Lucas a game hen while everyone else got turkey. You need to calm down, Dad said. I need to cut you off. Both of you. Completely. I pulled my phone back and started tapping. Done. You don't have access to my accounts anymore. Mom's face went white. Scott, no! The mortgage payment. Not my problem. You're being cruel, Mom said, tears starting. I'm being done. There's a difference. We're your parents, Dad said, voice hard. Then maybe you should have acted like it. I closed the door, locked it, stood there listening to them argue in the hallway for 5 minutes before they finally left. Lucas looked at me from the couch. Are they gone? Yeah, buddy. They're gone. Good. I sat down next to him and pulled him close. He leaned against me. My phone started buzzing again. I picked it up, scrolled through the new messages. Amanda, you're really going to sue me? Over money? You're insane. Mom, please call us. We can work this out. Dad, you're making a huge mistake. Unknown number. Hey, Scott, it's Aunt Marie. Heard about what happened. We should talk. I blocked Amanda's number. Blocked my parents' numbers. Deleted the voicemail from Aunt Marie without listening to it. Monday morning, I sat in a law office that smelled like old books and expensive wood. The lawyer, Erica, was maybe 40 with sharp eyes and a handshake that could crack walnuts. I'd printed everything. Bank statements, transfer records, text messages, emails, the works. She reviewed it all in silence for 20 minutes while I sat there drinking coffee. When she finally looked up, her assessment was straightforward. This was textbook theft. I'd given them access for bill management. They'd used it for unauthorized transfers. Criminal charges were an option. I told her I didn't want to go that route. Civil suit was enough. I wanted them to understand there were consequences. That's it. She explained I could sue for the full amount plus penalties, and that criminal charges would be more effective at making my point, but I stuck with the civil approach. I also wanted a demand letter sent to Amanda for the $17,000 she owed me. Erica laid out the plan. She'd draft both the demand letter and the lawsuit. The demand letter would give Amanda 30 days to pay before we filed suit. The lawsuit against my parents would take longer, but we could start immediately. She'd have the demand letter ready by end of day. Certified mail, signature required, so there'd be no question Amanda received it. I shook her hand and left. The letter went out Tuesday. Certified mail, signature required. Amanda signed for it Wednesday morning. She called me 17 times that day. I blocked her number after call 3. Thursday morning, Isaac showed up at my office. Building security called to ask if I wanted to see him. I said no. He tried to wait in the lobby. Security escorted him out. He sent an email instead. Long, rambling about how Amanda was having a breakdown, and could I please be reasonable. I forwarded it to Erica without responding. Friday, the lawsuit against my parents was officially filed. Erica called to confirm they'd been served. My father had tried to refuse service, but the process server got him anyway. He wasn't happy. My mother had called Erica's office crying. Erica told her to get her own attorney. Erica gave me a heads up that this was going to get ugly. Family court usually did. I told her it was already ugly. I was just making it official. That night, Lucas and I built a blanket fort in the living room and watched movies until he fell asleep against my shoulder. I carried him to bed, tucked him in, and went to my room to deal with the chaos. My blocked numbers list was up to 7. Amanda, both parents, Isaac, Aunt Marie, Uncle Tom, and someone named Celeste, who I think was a second cousin. My email had 43 new messages, all variations of, "How could you?" and "Family comes first," and "You're being selfish." I deleted them all without reading past the first line. Then I opened my banking app and transferred 10,000 from checking to savings. Emergency fund now sitting at 22 grand, more than I'd ever had before, because I wasn't funding everyone else's emergencies anymore. My phone rang again. Unknown number. I answered out of curiosity. "Scott, it's Aunt Marie." "What? Filing lawsuits against family? That's extreme. We need to work this out. They stole from me. Bank records prove it. Nothing to work out. But your parents are struggling. Amanda's struggling. Can't you just let this go?" I laughed. "Let it go? You're being selfish." That word again. The one they used when I wouldn't open my wallet. "I'm done, Marie. Don't call again." I hung up, blocked her number. Lucas called from his room. "Dad?" I walked in. He was sitting up in bed. "What's up, buddy?" "I heard talking. Just Aunt Marie. Nothing important. Is she mad at you too?" "Seems like it." He thought about that for a second. "I don't like them being mean to you." I sat on the edge of his bed. "Sometimes people are mean because they don't like hearing the truth." He nodded like that made perfect sense. "You're not sad?" "No, buddy, I'm not sad." "Good. Me neither." He laid back down. I tucked him in again and headed back to my room. My phone buzzed with another email. Subject line, "Family meeting." I ignored it. They wanted a meeting? They could meet with my lawyer. The demand letter hit Amanda hard. Erica forwarded me her response. 3 pages of excuses, accusations, and 0 acknowledgement of the actual debt. Erica called to update me. Amanda was claiming the money was gifts, not loans. I had text messages where she'd promised to pay me back, emails from when she first asked. Erica said that was perfect and told me to send them over so she could include them in our response. Amanda's next move was trying to get our parents to mediate. Mom called Erica's office demanding a sit-down. Erica told her to get a lawyer and hung up. Then came the social media blitz. Amanda posted on Facebook about how I was suing my own sister and tearing the family apart over money. Several relatives I hadn't spoken to in years suddenly had opinions. I stayed off social media and focused on work. My boss noticed the improved focus, the lack of personal drama bleeding into office hours. Gave me lead on a new client account, something that could mean promotion territory. 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, Amanda's lawyer sent a response. They were offering to pay back $5,000 of the $17,000 owed, in exchange for me dropping the suit. Erica called with the offer. It was lowball, but it was something. My call on what to do. I told her to counter with $15,000 in full within 60 days, or we proceed with the suit. She warned me they wouldn't take it. I said then we go to court. They didn't take it. The lawsuit got scheduled for February. Erica was confident. Amanda's own text messages proved she'd acknowledged these as loans. She didn't have a case. But Erica warned me to expect more harassment before the court date. She was right. Mid-December, my parents showed up at Lucas's school. The principal called me immediately. "Your parents are here asking to pick up Lucas." I felt cold. "Do not release him to them. They're not on the authorized pickup list." "I've already checked." They got upset when I explained that. "They're demanding to speak with you. Tell them I'll be there in 20 minutes. Do not let them near my son." I made it in 15. Found Mom and Dad in the principal's office looking furious. "You can't keep us from our grandson," Mom said the second I walked in. "Actually, I can. You're not on the authorized list. You're not taking him anywhere." "This is ridiculous," Dad snapped. "We're his grandparents. You're also people who served him a different meal than everyone else, because you're mad I won't fund your lifestyle. You think I trust you with him?" The principal cleared her throat. "Mr. Ramirez, would you like me to add a note to Lucas's file about this situation?" "Yes. No one except me and the people on my authorized list can pick him up. If my parents show up again, call the police." Mom gasped. "You wouldn't." "Try me." They left. I stayed to make sure Lucas was okay. Found him in class, completely unaware of the drama outside. Good. He didn't need to know. That night, I filed for a restraining order. Erica said it was a long shot without proof of threats, but the school incident helped. The hearing was set for January. Christmas came and went quietly. Just me and Lucas. We got a small tree, decorated it together, watched holiday movies, and ate cookies for dinner one night. Lucas got actual presents. Lego sets, books, a new bike, things I'd budgeted for properly, without having to choose between his happiness and someone else's fake emergency. He didn't ask about grandparents or cousins or aunts, didn't mention missing them. He was good with what we had. New Year's Eve, Erica called with news. Amanda's lawyer had just filed a motion to dismiss, claiming statute of limitations on the oldest loans. I asked if they could do that. Erica said they could try, but most of my loans were recent enough that it wouldn't matter. Worst case, we'd lose $2,000 of the oldest debt. We'd still win. I asked how the suit against my parents was looking. They hadn't responded yet. If they didn't respond by next week, we'd get a default judgment. I told her they'd respond. They were too stubborn not to. Erica said then we'd deal with it. I hung up and grabbed a drink. Lucas was already asleep, worn out from a day at the arcade. I'd spent maybe $100 on games and prizes and pizza. Best money I'd spent in years. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. This is Aunt Celeste. I know you blocked everyone, but you need to hear this. Your mother is in the hospital. Heart problems. She keeps asking for you. Please come. I stared at the message for a long time. This woman was still trying hard, but I already knew what it would look like arguing with her. She'd start with her godly talk, using the Jesus card about family forgiving family. Not happening. I blocked the number and went to bed. But Celeste didn't give up. She showed up at my apartment the next morning with Father Joseph from my mother's church in tow. Building security called. Sir, there's a woman and a priest here. Says it's an emergency about your mother. I sighed. I'll be down. Celeste was mid-60s with iron gray hair and angry energy. The priest looked uncomfortable. Your mother's in the hospital with heart palpitations, Celeste started. The stress you've caused. The stress I caused? I responded to theft. There's a difference. Father Joseph stepped in, voice gentle. Scott, I understand there's been conflict, but your mother's health is failing. Perhaps this is an opportunity for reconciliation. The opportunity was 16 months ago when they could have asked instead of stealing. They chose theft. I chose consequences. The Bible says to honor your mother and father, Celeste said. It also says not to steal. Pick a commandment. You're a terrible person for this, she hissed. I laughed. If being terrible means refusing to be a doormat, I'll own it. Father Joseph looked pained. There's always a path to forgiveness. Sure, they acknowledge what they did, pay back what they stole, and apologize. Until then, there's nothing to forgive. That's a transaction, not forgiveness. Exactly. Just like everything else in my relationship with them. I walked away, leaving them in the lobby. Back upstairs, Lucas was eating cereal. The calls kept coming throughout the week. Aunt Marie from different numbers. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. Everyone had the same script. Family is sacred. Mom's in the hospital. I was being cruel. I ignored them all and focused on what mattered. Lucas asked if we could go to the park. We went to the park. Spent 2 hours on swings and slides and the climbing wall. At the top, he turned and waved at me, grinning like he'd conquered Everest. I waved back, pulling out my phone to snap a picture. On the walk home, Lucas grabbed my hand. Dad? Yeah, buddy? Are we rich now? I laughed. What makes you ask that? We've been doing fun stuff a lot, and you seem happier. Smart kid. We're not rich, but we're doing better. Know why? He shook his head. Because I stopped giving our money to people who didn't appreciate it. Now I can spend it on us instead. Like the arcade, and the park, and that bike you've been eyeing at the store. His eyes went wide. The red one? Birthday's coming up, right? He squeezed my hand tighter, practically bouncing. Back home, Lucas picked a movie while I dealt with blocked numbers trying to call me. 8 attempts that evening alone. I deleted the voicemails without listening. Lucas was already asleep by the time I looked over everything one more time. The legal cases were moving forward. My finances were stable. My kid was happy. For the first time in 6 years, I wasn't drowning. I was swimming, and the water felt good. The demand letter to Amanda was active. Court date in February. The lawsuit against my parents was moving forward. They'd finally hired a lawyer who filed a response claiming the transfers were family contributions, and therefore not theft. Erica said it was weak, and we'd win. The restraining order hearing in January went exactly like I expected. The judge listened to both sides, reviewed the evidence of the school incident, and granted a temporary protective order, keeping my parents away from me and Lucas for 6 months. Mom cried in court. Dad looked like he wanted to punch someone. Neither of them looked at me. I walked out feeling nothing. The lawsuit against my parents settled out of court in late January. Their lawyer convinced them they'd lose, and losing would cost them more in legal fees than just paying back the money. They agreed to repay the $6,400 in monthly installments of $400. 16 months of payments to pay back 16 months of theft. Poetic. Erica made sure the settlement included a clause prohibiting any contact with me or Lucas except through attorneys. Violation would trigger the full amount becoming due immediately. We were officially done. Amanda's case went to court in February. Took exactly 3 hours for the judge to rule in my favor. Her own text messages and emails were exhibit A through G. The judge didn't even need to think about it. She read through Amanda's lawyer's arguments, looked at the evidence Erica had presented, and shut it down. Amanda had repeatedly acknowledged these as loans in writing. Her own words established repayment obligation. The court found in my favor. Amanda's face went white. The judge ordered her to pay back $15,000 of the original $17,000 plus court costs. Knocked off $2,000 for statute of limitations on the oldest loan, but Erica had warned me about that. Amanda's lawyer tried to negotiate a payment plan. Erica pushed for full payment in 30 days. The judge split it. 60 days or garnished wages. Failure to pay would result in wage garnishment. Amanda looked at me from across the courtroom like I'd killed her dog. I looked back with nothing. Just blank. Outside the courthouse, Isaac tried to approach me. I walked past him like he didn't exist. Erica walked me to my car and confirmed everything had gone well. She mentioned that Amanda was going to have to sell something to make that payment. Maybe the SUV. Not my problem, I said. I drove home, picked up Lucas from the after-school program, and took him to his favorite burger place. March brought my promotion at work. Senior accountant to team lead. 20% raise, better benefits, actual vacation time I might use. The money from my parents started arriving on schedule. $400, first of every month, direct deposit. I set up an automatic transfer to move it straight to Lucas's college fund. 16 months of payments would put $6,400 toward his future. Amanda made her first payment in late March. $7,500, half of what she owed. The second payment came in April, completing the debt. I never spoke to her again. My parents' vacation to Arizona got canceled. Couldn't afford it anymore with the monthly payment to me and the loss of all the other money they'd been skimming. They ended up moving to a smaller place in a cheaper neighborhood. I heard about it through Marie, who tried one last time to guilt me into reconciling. I hung up on her mid-sentence. April brought Lucas's 7th birthday. We had a party at the arcade with 6 of his school friends. He was happy. That's all that mattered. No grandparents, no aunt, no cousins. Just kids who actually liked him. One of the other dads, Jared, mentioned meeting up for a kid's playdate sometime. I said yes. Lucas needed friends. I needed to remember what normal relationships looked like. Summer came. Lucas went to day camp while I worked. Nights we'd hit the pool at our complex or bike around the neighborhood. Weekends meant museums, parks, movies. My emergency fund hit 30 grand in July. First time in my adult life I'd had that much saved. First time I felt actually secure instead of one family emergency, away from broke. Lucas asked once about his grandparents. Just once in August, after seeing a kid at camp with his grandfather. Do I still have grandparents? Legally, yes. Practically, no. What's that mean? It means they exist, but they're not part of our life anymore. He thought about that. I don't miss them. That's okay. You don't have to. I like it being just us. Me too, buddy. That was the last time he brought them up. Life had settled into something that felt normal. Work was good. Lucas was doing great in 2nd grade. My finances were solid. 16 months after the settlement, the final payment arrived. $400 exactly on schedule. The account balance updated with that soft beep. I sat on the couch that night after Lucas went to bed and thought about Thanksgiving almost 18 months ago. The game hen. The insults. The moment I realized I'd been funding my own disrespect for years. Best worst day of my life. If they hadn't gone that far, I might have kept enabling them. Kept being the family ATM. Kept choosing them over my own kid. But they did go that far. When they thought I was too beaten down, too used to it to ever draw a line. They were wrong. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.